So when do violence abuse victims then usually decide to leave if they actually ever do?
Right, yeah, so oftentimes, and again, it varies so often, but I think when someone does leave, and it takes an average, let me start here, it takes an average of 7 to 11 times for someone to leave and leave for good. There's a lot of different reasons why they'll go back. The number one predictor for whether or not they will be able to leave and stay gone is their financial means. So do they have money and other types of resources to actually support themselves, to support their children? That's a huge factor and is really a huge, can they even leave? And I think also a lot of times, at least the calls that we get, it is to a point where things have escalated physically, where they're looking for shelter or feel like, okay, at this point I have to get out because at this point they've threatened to hurt me or they've already hurt me.
And they usually do have options if it ever is a reason if I couldn't economically sustain myself or myself and my kids. They do have options for that.
They do, absolutely, yeah. So we are free, all of our services are free. It depends on what we'll be able to offer someone case to case. But we do have our emergency shelter for those who need to get away from an immediate dangerous situation. We also have counseling that's free, and we offer all different types of like legal advocacy, mainly with the protection from abuse orders. And there are other local resources as well, like the YWCA Rape Crisis Center, and they help with sexual assault related issues. And yeah, so we're an option. We are located in Carlisle. Did I already say that earlier?
No, that's
okay,
fine.
Good. All right, so then I'll continue with that. Yeah, so we are located here in Carlisle. Obviously, our exact location is confidential because that's where our safe house is. But we serve all of Cumberland and Perry County. And we also have an office in Perry County at the courthouse. That way we can be more on site for people in that county. And we also actually even have a satellite office in Camp Hill that we can meet clients more at that end of the county. So
they are options for people.
yeah, there are options.
So is physical evidence necessary then to support a victim's case?
Okay. So it depends. It really depends, and I don't work specifically in the criminal justice system or the legal system really, even at our shelter. But from what I have seen and know is if it's a criminal charge, then yes, typically the criminal justice system has to have some type of physical evidence. So whether it be a police report, photos, a rape kit, something of that nature. But for a civil matter, and a protection from abuse order is considered a civil matter, then the court can just go by a person's testimony. Just enough for the court to get a sense of, okay, this is why this person is fearful of this individual, and this is why they need protection from this individual.
Okay. So it might be good if you know someone that's going through abuse, or if you are someone that's going through a situation like that, to maybe just have a journal, even if it sounds awful, but just to have something else that might help sustain your case in any other event.
Sure, if you're in a situation where you can safely keep evidence or just proof, whether it be texts, emails, anything that shows that person threatening you in any way, that'll certainly help, but I don't think it's always required.
Okay.
And again, specifically if that person, depending on the situation, if that person is very heavily monitored by their significant other who's abusive, it might not be safe for them to keep a bunch of stuff if they don't have means to keep it secret. But
okay.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. If someone's kind of concerned about their options and the resources, call our hotline because we're really there to just talk to people and be able to provide you with that information.
Okay, I will be putting the number on the screen so that people can also have the information
Yes.
and call. So, so have you ever had a person then identify themselves as the abusers? And if that happens, what happens next?
Yeah. So it's typically, so there's a couple different ways that happens. So sometimes we do have abusers who will call our hotline and they're just trying to get information out of us. Sometimes they are calling to get information about our AMEND program, which is our Batters Intervention Program, and people can self-refer to that program, or sometimes they're court mandated as well. We've also had counselors in the area make referrals because they recognize that that individual really would benefit from Batters Intervention Program. I've also experienced, so my main job is going out into the community and talking to people about domestic violence, and one of the most common ways I do that is going into high schools, and I have had a couple high school students disclose to me that what they were doing was abusive. So they weren't like, yeah, I'm an abuser, but one of the stories in particular was a young man had said, yeah, I told my girlfriend if she didn't have sex with me, then I would tell her secret to her parents. And so he was holding that over her head. That's sexual coercion. And so I think he always knew it was wrong, but I think it specifically put a label to this is what that behavior was, and this is why it's abusive.
Which is an important thing to do,
Yeah.
self-awareness.
Yes, absolutely. Self-awareness is a good way to put that.
And it's
Yeah.
Also, if you are a victim of abuse, threats will just probably snowball.
Yeah,
And-
yeah.
So how can maybe an outside person be of assistance?
Yeah.
How would that go if I know of a person that is a victim and they themselves might not know how to make that first approach or call or
Yeah.
just ask for help?
Yeah.
How would an outsider's role be?
Yeah, so I love this question. A couple of things that I would say with this question are, first of all, just knowing and supporting your local resources can go a long way, because then if you or someone you know does need our resources, you kind of have that information tucked in the back of your mind. I would also say that, and it's not as easy as it sounds sometimes, especially when you are concerned for someone's safety, but the best thing you can do when you are talking to someone who you know is in an abusive relationship is to really be mindful and offer non-judgmental support. So listening more than you're talking, really being careful and making them feel judged, because victims carry around a lot of embarrassment and guilt and shame. And so the last thing you want to do is burn that bridge for them. They're going to need someone eventually. Maybe they're not there yet, but they're eventually going to need someone to be there for them. And if you can keep that line of communication open, it'll help more than you know.
Well, everyone, if you'd like more information on this, I'm just going to put the number on the screen so you can call or just have the resources if you ever do need them. And don't forget to check out our domestic violence awareness program. It will take place here at Bosler Memorial Library on Wednesday, February 27th at 6:30 p.m. And once again, Emily, thank you so much for joining in. It has been a pleasure talking to you about this. It's very important to have these conversations about like the elephant in the room, as I called it earlier. There are some things that need to be addressed and need to be discussed and that are happening around even though we don't know exactly about them. So again, thank you, Emily. And I am Emily Gonzalez reporting for the Bosler Bus.